I took a house from 1 million to 1.6 million in central London.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I did it all as a single mom, independently. You've got this. You've got it. There's a fight in you. There's a fire in you. Get up. There is no victims here. You need to get up and you need to fight. And it's important for me to teach my women this because they're raising the next generation. They're raising the kids.
Did you manage it yourself or you had someone
I
to
managed the whole thing myself.
whole
I
thing.
died 7 times. 7 times, literally. And
Was it
resurrected.
worth it? Was it worth
Yes,
it?
it would. It was absolutely. You cannot pay me to do it again.
No one else can compete with you because no one is you. So find your unique voice.
Yes.
Find your unique way, your unique energy. 10x it. Don't work on your weaknesses. Work on your strengths. What makes you you? 10x that, and then people and opportunities will gravitate towards you.
As a mentor, and just coming from my own experiences, I definitely advocate for people to pace themselves and take really calculated risks. When you've got a family and you've got financial responsibilities and you're tied in and you tied yourself in because you thought this was the right thing to do, but then the economy changes and it's now not feasible, you're miserable, you're upset, you're still tied in, how do you get out? And so now you have to...
Jael, I saw one of your reels where you said there is too much money in the world to go broke. Although there is some truth to that, not everyone will make it. Some people are just not cut for it, though most simply won't develop the skills and the mindset required. What does it take, in your opinion, in order to become successful in today's world?
It takes really making a decision that you are not satisfied with what, the cards that you've been dealt, and saying, you know what, that the thought of not achieving the goal is greater than my fear of actually putting myself out there. To achieve something, you have to have almost an obsession and a kind of a delusion, if you will, that what you want is going to manifest in your life, and you've kind of got to take an unreasonable amount of action to obtain it. And it's all about force, so forcing things into manifestation, forcing yourself to get up and make it happen. So in my opinion, um you really need to have that conviction and believe and want to do it in a great way.
Yeah, I agree, totally agree. Fantastic. And you made your money through property, and quite a lot of money actually. But you could have chosen any other industry to put all of your effort and that delusion and that obsession in. Give me your best argument as to why would someone get into property to become wealthy compared to other avenues of wealth creation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are so many opportunities and options for me. My personality definitely allows for there to be options, and there certainly is options in my future of different avenues to go through. I think for me, property is a vehicle that I made a decision to go down in its entirety, based on security. I just wanted that definite decision. I think the barrier of entry is very low in property. I think the IQ of property investors don't have to be very high. I think it really invites everybody, and and there's this kind of guaranteed road. It's so unique in that way, is that there's this very clear road. Even if you start with no money, you can become successful in property as long as you stick at the road and know what the rules
Sure.
are. And is almost this kind of air of guarantee of wealth at the end of it. So, nothing in the world is guaranteed because tomorrow's not promised to anybody. But at the same time, it's like there is a track record across the entire planet that if you build something on a piece of land and there's a lot of people around it and people like to stay in that location, that value is going to be added to that assets. I mean, some of the oldest properties, i.e. the pyramids, still bring value to a desert
Sure.
where no one would want to go to a random piece of sand if it wasn't for something so monumental. So for me, it stands the bricks and mortar stands the test of time. That was the reason why I chose it as the starter, really, of
Hmm.
my business career.
Hmm. Isn't that wonderful? How beautiful. The beautiful thing about property is like you don't need a fancy degree from a fancy
No.
university. Yeah, actually, most people in property have just finished high school and never paid attention at school at all.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that the education system failed them.
Yeah.
Yet they are the landlords. They are the ones making multiple six figures.
Yeah.
And as you said, the barrier to entry is so low. Anyone can get started simply by going to £1 events like the one Samuel Leeds organizes. Just because the traditional path of getting into the workforce via degrees didn't work for you, it doesn't mean you can make it in property. And that's the beauty of it.
Very true. Very true. Very true. I mean, I'm, fully dyslexic and definitely didn't have the option of being like really, really like a doctor or, really great at admin or great in an office. Or I never thought I could be a solicitor or a lawyer. I thought I could be a model and a dancer and and an actress, and that those were the cards that were dealt for me. So for me to be a property entrepreneur, I feel like I'm the best example, or what a great example of anybody can do it if somebody like me can do it.
Mhm. In the UK, 60% of adults have no saving. 23% have about £200 or less in savings, and 39% have less than £1,000. People love spending £5 on a Starbucks coffee, eating out at every chance, and waste money getting drunk while they're flat broke. Many even say there is no point in saving money because you cannot save your way to becoming rich. How important is saving money, in your opinion, especially when it comes for those living payslip to payslip?
Yeah, I am honest with you. I mean, um, I saved a bit. You can never really save
Hmm.
as much as you can make. I feel, um,
Yeah.
because I could make 100 grand in 24 hours, for example. So I wouldn't have the ability to save that. I did save when I got started. I did save 1,500, and with it I used it to put into rent to rent, and then I flipped that money, and then that money turned into a deposit, and then that deposit, then that property went up in value, and then I pulled out 50, 60,000 pounds and bought a larger project. So my whole portfolio started at 1,500 from the savings, right? I never earned really enough to like make a real strong mark in my saving ability. I think that saving is great. I feel like money management is really important,
Hmm.
extremely important. Um, but in the industry, and a lot of people that I've trained over the years, ha, have come from that mindset of like, oh, I save and I've got 10 grand or whatever, or five. And then they quickly realize, after I teach them about deal sourcing, or I teach them about rent to rent or lease option, they quickly realize that, okay, I can sell a deal and make 3,000. So you're telling me that I can make that same 10,000 in a month that I took 2 years or 3 years to save? And I'm like, yes. So saving is important, and definitely important for you to have money management, but I think that we have to expand our mind and receive so much more, because the most I've made in deal sourcing in a week is 45,000 pounds. um
Crazy.
so yeah, so if I had a mindset of, oh, I need to save, I wouldn't have made 45,000 pounds in a week through deal sourcing. So, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I think the bigger deal is learning how to make money and manifest money really quickly, so that you can move
Exactly.
forward and move to the next level of your personal evolution.
Exactly. Because most people don't have an investment problem, they have an income problem. They don't have money coming in. Everyone is worrying, oh, where can I put in the stock market for the 20 years to make money? It's like, you have £1,000. You need
Yeah.
to learn to make money.
Yeah.
because it's unreliable. So you need to learn to make money, or as Samuel teaches us, learn to use other people's money.
Yes.
So talk to me about debt. Most people are oblivious to the fact that rich people use other people's money to
Yeah.
make money. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on debts?
I think that it is an amazing strategy and something that is life changing. I definitely
Okay.
have raised a lot of finance to put into assets, whether that be private finance or finance with, on the market lenders. I think that you should be very critical in your thinking. And I think one of the biggest advice that I give to anybody that works with my training course, Wealth Creators, I often teach my students that if you are going to borrow money off of somebody that is a private investor, a personal person, I think it's very wise that you make sure that you don't borrow more than you can afford because property is unpredictable and there isn't a true guarantee of what your numbers are going to be because you don't know what the market's going to be the year later or the year after that.
Hmm.
There is a lot of, in this market in particular, a little bit of uncertainty of its ability to shift and move. So be very, very critical in your thinking and think about, okay, if I've borrowed £40,000 to buy myself a 6-bedroom HMO in Middlesbrough, how much is that house going to give me in revenue? How long have I got this agreement for? What are the other ways
Hmm.
that I can raise capital to ensure that I can pay that person back should the property not get the value that I'm looking for, or should I not be able to refinance at the percentage that I've kind of believe that I can? There is uncertainty in the market. So you never want to go, I get really new students that are like, I've just found a £2 million project and I'm going to raise £1 million. And I'm like, yeah. First of all, you've never done a project like that. Second of all, borrowing £1 million is a lot of money. And,
It's a
to
lot of
put that
money.
all into a deal, which you don't really have the idea whether it's going to work or not, is unbelievably risky. If you've got a million
Hmm.
pound in your bank and you've raised £1 million, beautiful, beautiful, because if everything goes to crap, you've still got the integrity and the financial means to be able to pay those people back or that person back, which your representation is everything in this industry. So
Absolutely. And then there is the fear that comes when you borrow £1 million and you're not making money right away. And then you suddenly need to make back the payments. And that fear is crippling and that can destroy you. That will lead you to making worse decisions. And then
absolutely,
you can enter this downward spiral where you just make it even worse for yourself. And who knows what's next, bankruptcy or anything. So,
absolutely.
yeah, good advice.
Yeah,
Good advice.
absolutely. You've got to be really cautious. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, there is always this line that you can cross. And I've seen people cross it. I've
Mm.
seen people buy a house on auction for £500,000, put down a deposit of £100,000, then not be able to raise the money, then lose everything. And I think that you've got to be cautious. I think it is a very male dominated industry, and there is
Mm.
kind of a push for just extreme growth. And I think even myself, I push myself beyond my own personal limits and have kind of sat back and said, okay, you know what? Am I going to move at 1 million miles per hour, or am I going to, take my time to process and make really well calculated risks and really manage my expectations and my clients' expectations and so on and so forth? Because it's not a relay race. It's not even a marathon. It's a lifestyle. Property is forever. You can invest in property for a ripe, old age, especially if you're at a point of buying for cash or you have your family who are
Mhm.
taking on projects and you're building a whole empire for your children and your children's children. This is something that is a career, and you do need to pace yourself. And I think as a mentor, And just coming from my own experiences, I definitely advocate for people to pace themselves and take really calculated risks.
Right. In the property world, everyone is talking about strategy all the time. I see newbies, including myself when I was in Samuel's academy, obsessing over strategy, but not doing the things that move the needle forward, which is putting in the work, making those phone calls, meeting the landlords, understanding where the market is heading. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out and not only overthinks about strategy, but who is simply stuck in that beginner mode and that beginner mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the property entrepreneur, the property business, the property career has taken a new height over the last 5 to 6 years. It's taken
Hmm.
a complete different, and I would say the pioneer and the master of it being a full-time career is definitely Samuel, and he's somebody that I love and respect and will always look up to as my forever mentor in many different areas of my career. I think that there's been this wonderful awakening of all these different strategies that have taken place. And what I love about the academy is that it teaches that it's one complete business. I am not an advocate, nor do I really advise anyone out there to just focus on individual strategies. I just don't believe in it, because if you were to do a deal sourcing course, for example, but you don't know all the other strategies in the industry, how are you actually going to maximize? I do feel like property is one complete business. And so you can put your toe in the water, but ultimately, if you want to be a doctor, and even if you were a foot surgeon, you still need to learn about the whole anatomy of the human body in order to call
True.
yourself a doctor, right? A foot surgeon. And property is the same. If you are selling deals, you're a deal sourcer, you're not a property investor. If you do rent to rent, you're a rent to renter, you're not a property investor. You are a property investor when you buy a freaking house. Let's just keep it simple.
Mhm.
However, all of these strategies within this business teaches you how to get there. So, for example, if you are a deal sourcer, that is going to teach you how to, one, build your investors list. It's going to teach you, two, how to assess good deals. The third thing it's going to teach you is how to freaking raise finance. If you can convince
Yep.
someone to give you £3,000, you can convince someone to give you 30, you can convince someone to give you 300. So
Absolutely.
your deal sourcing is like your foundation. Then you've got the rent to HMO strategy, which trumps the rent to SA in a sense of rent to SA, or SA as a subject, is much more to do with being a hotel and a bed and breakfast. So that's a different industry altogether. That's much more of a commercial industry. That's much more of a hotel serviced industry. If you want to be a developer in the property industry, you would go into rent to HMO, because HMO is the foundation from a development perspective. You're talking about legislations, you're talking about licensing, you're talking about compliances, you're talking about planning, you're talking about fire regulations, you are discussing building control. When you do a development, you do all of those, but then you've got to take in your structural engineer, your party wall surveyor. Is it a conservational area? Is it an Article 4 area? Do you have permit development rights? Is it a listed building?
Yep.
Right? Um, and everything, you know, in between.
Mhm.
So if you want to be a developer, then you want to do HMO, because it teaches you what you need to learn if you want to do a loft conversion, a rear extension, and then it will, and then if you want to build a house from scratch, if you want to build a block of flats, it's all just, if you want to build a whole estate, maybe even a whole freaking town, however big you want to go. If you want to be somebody that built a whole island in Dubai, there is, the possibilities in property is absolutely endless, and that's why pacing yourself is so important. HMO really does teach you that. So if you want to be a multi-millionaire, you really want to do everything in the
Yeah.
industry. If you want to have a block of flats, like I've got 18 bedroom HMOs. If someone was to give me 18 blocks of flats, I would be able to rent them out like that, because renting a room is going to be harder than renting a flat, in my opinion. It just is. I rent flats really easily. Rooms are a bit more convincing.
Really interesting.
100%. Somebody who's working in an office down in Canning Town, down in Canary Wharf, you've got a block of flats in Canning Town. You're renting two-bedroom flats out for 2,000 pounds. Somebody's going to loads of people are going to easily take on those flats because they've got the
Yeah,
money, they've worked down the road. 18-bedroom HMOs sharing one or two or three kitchens is going to be a harder sale.
I see.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
rented out 18 rooms within 5 days. So, you know, it's all relative,
Hmm.
it's all relative.
But I like your analogy of having this holistic, like you need to understand every aspect of it. Because then when when you're gonna hire someone to deal with those aspects of your business, if you're clueless to it, they will do you dirty, or maybe they will mismanage it, and you won't be able to identify
Yeah,
what they're mismanaging,
yeah.
and so on and so forth.
Definitely. You've got
Oh,
to fail your way to success. Everything is trial and error.
of
If
course,
you think it's
of
going to be
course.
perfect, if you're seeing it online and you're like, oh my God, they've got the perfect experience. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they
No
don't.
one, no
No
one,
one, no
no
one
one.
does. Everyone wants to make out like it's perfect, but it's hard and it's challenging and it's
Hmm.
and it takes fight and willpower
Absolutely.
to get to the next level. But it does get easier over time.
Yeah. In one of your other videos, you were talking about how people complain that the 9 to 5 is killing their dreams, which I think is incorrect. They're the ones responsible, at least for the most part, for remaining stuck in the 9 to 5 and for gradually killing their dreams. They're the ones not willing to put in the work to escape, because that would mean 70, 80-hour work weeks for the next 5 years, maybe. But Netflix ain't gonna watch itself. Adolescence just came up. Suddenly everyone has 10 hours to binge watch it, but no one has 10 hours to follow their dreams. So most people think that the job is making them unhappy because they see the outliers that make it online or who fake it online having that extravagant, fun life 365 days a year, not realizing not only is it's unrealistic, it's unattainable. They think the grass is greener on the other side, but they're just unhappy and they blame their jobs for it. What are your thoughts on finding fulfillment in one's job? Is it something even people should strive for?
I mean, I speak to a lot of my students who have have jobs that they're passionate about. And one of my students,
Hmm.
Susan, she loves her job. She's like 24. She's got a great career. She makes good money. She loves her job. She just wanted extra passive income. Within 3 weeks of the program, she's got two HMOs, rent to HMOs, both giving her about £1,200 a month. I think one of them, to be honest, is almost giving her 2,000. She's basically become financially free within 3 weeks
Sweet.
of being mentored. So for her, but I said, do you want to quit your job? She's like, no, I'm doubling down. I'm making that amount, I'm making this amount, I'm making more money. And she knows that I'm all about buying houses. So she knows the intentions is to save the money, right? Save the golden eggs. Don't eat them. Don't scramble them. Don't poach them. Don't make them into an omelette. Let them grow into little, chicks and let them basically, invest them so that, if she's making £6,000 a month, well, we know in the next six to 8 months, she's buying her first house. And that is going to pay her for the rest of her life. That is her retirement plan. She knows later on in life, she's 24, 25 years from now, she's going to want for nothing if everything goes the way it's always been, right? so so in that sense, no. But then on the flip side, I spoke to a woman who is coming to my event on the 26th of Saturday, the 26th of April, to my mastermind event, which is also £1. um
Nice.
and yeah, well, you've got to let
Hmm.
people, I get the concept of like letting people have a little moment to see if this is for them.
Hmm.
She's coming and she's a mother of three. She's edging on 50. Her her latest child is really, really young. She's been working full time and she's working full time. She suddenly realized she needs a career change because her other kids are grown up, but she still has a young kid and she still hasn't made time for herself. She's done everything she can to raise great kids as a mother. Just
Hmm.
didn't know that there was another option for her because if I often
Right.
say if God or the universe tell you or give you a vision, then you don't have a vision. You're just going to keep on going the way that you go until you've got an insight. Right.
Yeah,
So she's got an insight, but she feels like, oh my God, I've just gotten that insight. What do I do? But I work full time. How do I make it happen? So, now I have to navigate somebody that is working full time, navigate her mindset and her emotions, show her that it's possible, and then navigate her to get in a deal so that she can become financially free, so that she can then be full time in property. So, it's not easy when you've got a family and you've got financial responsibilities and you're tied in and you tied yourself in because you thought
for
this was
sure.
the right thing to do. But then the economy changes and it's now not feasible. You're miserable, you're upset, you're still tied in. How do you get out? And so now you have to 10x it and work like a crazy person
Mm.
to be able to get out of that rat race.
It's not easy. It's not easy, especially if you have all those responsibilities and you're at that age for sure. And that's why mentorship is so important.
Yeah, it is.
Because most people stay broke because they lack the skills, and they lack the skills because they lack the education. Now, when it comes to property, it's something you'll never learn at school. So you will learn that the hard way, painfully trial and error until something works. But in the case of your student who is 54 or whatever the age was, she doesn't have the time, so the only way you can learn this is through mentorship such as yours or Samuel's. Um, However, many people are skeptical in spending money in such mentorships. They think it doesn't work for whatever reason. What do you say to someone who is skeptical or even afraid to
Yeah.
invest the money in education?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, people are not afraid of the actual program. They're just more scared of like, can they do it? Do they have the willpower? So it's a lot more to do with like them, and if they feel like they've got the willpower, because it's no magic pill. It's not, you don't just educate yourself and all of a sudden you can do it. It's the action, it's
If
the
only.
physical. Yeah, it's like so it basically is like everybody knows that you can drive a car without like being taught how, right? But you're going to break the car or you're going to break yourself. However, having an instructor, you're going to pass the tests and the car's going to be okay. They're going to tell you what road bumps are ahead. You need to take the theory, which is the educational part, but then you have to take the practical, which is the action. The theory cap counts for 30%. You're not going to cross a red light. You're not going to park in the wrong place. You're going to know what a zebra cross is. You need to know the theory. At the same time, the practical is where you actually learn that you have the willpower inside to do it. So I would say, let's start to change our mindset about the educational system, because you'd spend £27,000 in a university doing a degree that's going to get you a job in Primark, or you're going to be taught by a multi-millionaire, by a multi-millionaire, but by a billionaire in some cases, how to build wealth. And as long as you stick at it, it's guaranteed, because it's based on you putting yourself out there, you taking the action, and you not giving it up. At some point, something's got to give. I remember having one of my mentees, Olga, and she came to me. She'd invested in education. She needed some support. She came to me, she joined my program, and she was upset, she was sad, and she was down in the dumps. She'd invested and she'd lost money and she'd gone through all this stuff. It took her 2 months of me literally every single week saying, you can do it, you've got this, keep looking, keep going. 2 months until she got a deal. But when she got a deal, she didn't just get one, she got three. And she made £9,000 in 2 weeks, and now 3 months later, she's on 21 grand and is now a mentor in the wealth creators community, because
Oof,
she
nice.
knows how to find deals and she's great at it and she's confident, and she now helps my students along the way. So that's somebody I think is the best reason, because she'd already failed at her education. See, some people haven't even started. She started and failed and still went to the right person for her, because every trainer is different.
Sure.
I get my 90% of my clients are women and mothers.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, because they know I'm a mum. I'm going to speak from that perspective. I'm a woman. I'm going to speak from that perspective. I'm a black woman. that also helps
Yeah.
for my black female client base
Yeah.
that are like, I need to know if this is going to work for somebody that looks like me. And in Olga's case, she's a black female woman. And for her, it was perfect to learn from me because it gave her the belief that it was possible for her. And so
And
now she's completely financially free. She's made all the money back she's ever invested in her programs and is on her way to start to buy houses and invest and own stuff that she can pass down to her kids.
And that's so fascinating because so many people have this self-defeating attitude. Oh, why would I even do property? Why would I even why would I do anything? I have nothing to say. People are not gonna listen to me. But as you just said, many black women will relate more to you because you're a black woman and will not relate to Samuel, who is a white dude who is in the face shouting at them. So
And the
everyone
beautiful
is
thing
in.
about Samuel is he is universal because, you know, we always give Samuel the black card because he's got like mixed race kids and a black wife. So we're like, Samuel, you kind of are black. So he's fine. I feel like he has a very, very multi-diverse crowd.
Yeah.
And I think he
It's
does.
his energy. It's his
Yeah,
energy.
exactly. He's amazing. He's definitely an all-rounder.
Yeah, but yeah, to anyone who wonders they don't have something to say or why would people listen to them, why would agents be convinced by them, is no one, you are the best at being you. No one else can compete with you because no one is you. So find your unique voice,
Yes.
find your unique way, your unique energy.
Yes.
10x it. Don't work on your weaknesses. Work on your strengths. What makes you you? 10x that, and then you people and opportunities will gravitate towards you because that's just the way it works. And sometimes it takes time, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I like how you said before, like people are so happy to pay thousands of pounds to take loans and study music, history, or English at universities, which almost guarantees they will be unemployed or at least
Exactly.
underpaid for their whole life. And they're not willing to invest a few £1,000s in a guaranteed
Yeah.
money making machine. Property has made the most millionaires globally ever, and it will keep doing that. But no, what do these millionaires know about making money? I'm gonna study philosophy because
Yeah.
whatever. The system told me that's the way.
Yeah, and we are, you know, we are, let's face it, we are moving away more from the systems that they are not able to sustain everybody. There's more people being born every day on the planet. There are far less interests in certain curriculums, and most people are
Mhm.
making millions off of TikTok now. So
Crazy.
things are changing. I mean, you know, people are taking their kids out of school. I'm definitely open and just patterning up a few things to be in that position to homeschool my own son. I see that
That's
the
amazing.
value. I see the value. I just traveled to Kenya. I literally came back a few days ago, and the education that I got as a child had having traveled a lot when I was a kid and seeing my son embrace different cultures, it really did, you know, plant a seed in me that I was like, okay, you know what, I don't think, especially being a young black boy in London, I'm like, I just don't think I'm gonna like have you go to school. I think, you know, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna find a way um to homeschool and to create a social network for him as well so he doesn't lose that. I just
Mhm.
don't really believe in some things that are being taught in schools, and I don't really want my son to be exposed to certain mindsets in the
Absolutely.
schools, whether it's the other children or whether it is some of the curriculums just around gender and things like that. I mean, I think it's great that everybody has their own choices in life of, you know, whether they want to be transgender or, you know, non-binary. My granddad, my mum was adopted and my granddad was changed his sex when and was one of the first to do it in the UK. So I'm very much open to people making decisions for themselves. I just don't want things imposed on my child before he's ready to understand who he is as a character. So there are some things that are important for me. I also teach my son how to manage money. I took him to an orphanage you know, a few days ago in Lamu, Kenya, to show him that there are children that don't have anywhere to live and that, you know, they don't have a mum and dad and they live here now. And, you know, what can we do to do more? So I find personally there are much more important things that I can teach my son in his adolescence so that he can grow up and, be the change that we're looking for in the world. And whether he wants to do that or not is up to him. But I think, yeah, it's important to me. So the systems of education are different. Community is different. Now we make our own community. Wealth Creators has a
Interesting.
community of almost 100 students in our community that I've worked with over the year. We just won an award for businesswoman of the year. And we are thriving more. We've got more people coming to our events, more people wanting to learn, more people wanting to be empowered. And it's more than property to me. It's about mindset. It's about building warriors. All my women, I call them my warriors. We're not, they come to me crying. They always come to me crying and, in despair and in frustration. And I get to enrich them and empower them and tell them that, listen, you've got this. You've got it. There's a fight in you. There's a fire in you. Get up. There is no victims here. You need to get up and you need to fight. And it's important for me to teach my women this because they're raising the next generation. They're raising the kids. So that's my mission, is to talk to women and men. But I get a lot of women, and
Mhm.
that I feel like that's my calling, is to empower them and make them feel like they can fight and make it happen, and not have to be a victim in their life. And they don't need saving. No one's gonna save you, darling. No one. So save your goddamn self and keep it moving.
Praise.
Yeah. And this
No,
whole
that's
thing,
powerful. That's
there's this whole
powerful.
thing of like, oh, women are working and they're being in their masculine and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, whatever it takes at this point, okay? Because if you don't get up and work, if you're going to be sitting there waiting for Prince Charming to come and save you, darling, good luck.
Yeah.
Just good luck.
No, that's beautiful. And I like how you said you impacting this woman and these people, but you didn't, the priority or the focus was not the money. It was that they're raising the next generation. And
Yes.
that's awesome. Because money is a byproduct of excellence. And yeah, they're going to do good. But the thing is, who are these women if they just have money, but they're raising this trashy next generation? What's the point? It's not like once you have the money, and I'm glad that you made it because now you have that luxury and that empowerment to teach that to the next generation of women, and that's awesome and that's powerful. I like it. Jael, do you come from money?
No.
No. How does it feel to break this generational spell of not coming from money?
I still feel like I think every entrepreneur feels like they've got so far to go. I've been given a great vision. And I still feel like I'm still building, because when you build wealth in property, the money is in property. And it
Not
exists.
cash.
Yeah, it exists in the asset. So to have £1 million in property is very different than having £1 million in your bank. So there's been a shift now for me of like focusing on really making sure that I'm having high cash flow assets. And I mean, my assets have always cashed in really high, but being even more creative about it, looking more deeply into essays, even internationally, looking for larger commercial to resi type of developments that are going to give you much more, cash, in the bank. So, I'm currently sort of working more of like, okay, how do I've done the whole like, okay, I've got a multi-million-pound portfolio. I'm now officially a net millionaire. How do I have that in my bank? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I can make the decisions independently, or I can say, okay, you know what? Let's go and do another project. Let's go and raise £500,000 or £1 million privately, but we've got it in the bank. Or how do I just have much more lucrative money in the account so that I can speak to lenders and say to lenders, okay, well, look, the purchase price of this property is 500,000, but the GDV is 1.2 and the refurb is 200,000. Can you give me 100% of development finance? Can you give me 100% of the purchase price and I'll put down the stamp? Working with the money men much more creatively, where you don't have to put so much money in deals because you've got equity, because you've got, again, mortgage lenders not so interested in doing mortgages
Hmm.
as much anymore, looking to like do, pay off my mortgages and have much more money in equity and then leveraging off of equity. So I think refinancing is a thing of a past. Forget about refinancing. You can offset, you can charge against your asset. I prefer that. I think charge on my asset. I don't have to pull any money out. Give me the money. That asset increases in value, refinances, pays yourself off. I've got money saved in the account. Now the possibilities are endless. So I guess
Sure.
I'm remodeling at the moment, taking a step back from, okay, from 2021 to 2024, you became a multimillionaire. You did everything it took to get there, and it was crazy and messy, and you did everything in your power just to get there. Okay, now you're there. What are the things that you've learned? What are the mistakes that you've made? What are the things that you did really, really well? Okay, this is now a better quality of ways to invest. This is what you've learned, and this is, how it's going to really, really benefit you in the future, where it's a bit more of a seamless experience. It's becoming an entrepreneur is like defying gravity. You've
Yeah.
got to go upstream. You've got to do the most. You've got to take the action. Then you get to a point that I'm at where you're like, your head is above the clouds and you're like, okay, I'm here. I'm here. I'm there. How do I,
Yeah.
right?
And the clouds get higher and higher as you progress through and you have grander aims and ambitions. It
But
never
there is a
stops.
ceiling. There is a ceiling. It's like when you start out, you can become financially free and you can be happy there.
Yeah.
When you've got the rent to rent and a few of the lease options and you just got passive income, you're good. You're financially free. You could be happy. You can pay your bills. You can live life. You can enjoy your life. When you start to own assets and start to lend more and start to actually get more assets and lend and leverage, you can over leverage. And that is the difference between people who become bankrupt and people who can go to the next level, is when you get to that point of leverage, right? So
Hmm.
you've got to learn how to maintain. Once
It's
you
the
get
greed.
right. So if
It's the
at this
greed.
point I made a decision and said, oh, I'm going to do something crazy and do something, no, that's when you're going to put yourself in a situation. So you've got to grow and maintain. At the moment, I'm at a point of maintenance, maintaining, evaluating, realigning. Once I feel like I'm set, you go up to the next thing, and you never want to do the same thing twice. So if you've done a 4 bedroom HMO, you better believe you're going to do a 6 bedroom. If you're going to do a 6 bedroom, do a 10. If you do a 10, do a 15. If you've done a 15, do a 25. Never do the same thing twice. I see so many people like, oh, I've got 7 essays. How's that working for you? Not very well. Yeah, I know. Because it wouldn't work very well. You should have got a freaking hotel that had 20 rooms. That would have been better than having 7 random essays in random locations. Some work, some don't. You're
And they're
doing the same.
expensive.
And
They're
they're
very expensive to
expensive,
passive, yeah.
100%. And they're seasonal. They only work between April and October. The rest of the time, you're going to have to let them out. No point in having them empty because you're not going to get the bookings that you want if you're in London, depending on location, of course.
Sure.
But to have 10 of the same things is ridiculous. If you've done one essay, next thing you want to do is you want to do a bigger essay, and then you want to do a hotel. That's how you grow in the industry. If you do the same thing and you get the same results, keep buying a house for 100K, you're not gonna grow. You want to buy a house
Mhm.
for 100K, then one for 500, then one for 1 million, and then one for 2 million. I will never buy a house for 1 million. I'm gonna buy a house. The next house I'm gonna buy is probably gonna be 1.5 or 2.
Yeah.
Because that's how you grow.
How about let's move a little bit away from people who are in property and let's go to the average person. So in London, the rents are about double the national average. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on renting? If the average person with the average salary, who has no crazy ambitions and doesn't really want to get into property, is thinking to buy a house, is it going to be better renting and being mortgage free or buying a house and paying it off in 30 years? What do you think?
Buying a house and paying it off. It's a
For sure.
no-brainer. Why would I, if I'm not an entrepreneur, rent a house? If you're an entrepreneur and you've got money and you want to be an investor, yeah, rent a house all you want. But if not an entrepreneur and I'm going to pay somebody else's mortgage plus something on top,
Right.
Why in God's name would I not just buy my own house? Like, I've spoken to people that have joined my training and got an interest-only mortgage 20 years ago, and it didn't even appreciate that much. They still have the interest-only mortgage. I'm like, that is some BS. You should have got a paid-down mortgage 20 years ago. Right now, you wouldn't have a mortgage, and you'd have so much money to leverage off. I don't
Yeah.
even believe in interest-only mortgages anymore. I really don't.
Plus, you can leave a legacy to your kids.
100%. What are you leaving your
Yeah.
kids? The rent. What you?
Yeah.
What have you done? That's the worst thing that you can do. The very minimum, buy a freaking house to live in. The minimum. That's your minimum goal.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
But
that's
many people are,
everyone in the country.
yeah, but people are afraid of the mortgages, are afraid of tying them down to this financial responsibility. Of course, most of it is irrational fear because they don't know. They lack the knowledge. But
Still,
this is the thing.
still tied down to somebody else's mortgage in the property that you're renting, increasing, and that landlord increasing your rent when your contract ends anyway, or even worse, evicting you with it. Do you know how many times I've been like not evicted, but my tenancy runs out and it's like, okay, you've got to leave now. I'm like, I've got to move all my stuff. It's annoying.
Crazy with the families. Is home ownership becoming less and less attainable for younger generations, though? What do you think?
I think that if they're thinking about the old mindset, it probably is. Yeah, for sure. Of course, the cost of how much you make from a job in comparison to buying a house is a massive difference. If you want to buy a house
Hmm.
for £1 million in the middle of London, you're gonna have to earn like £200,000 a year.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
what is a mistake that these first time buyers you think make? What is a common mistake?
I think shared ownership.
Oh, I hate that. I don't know why people do that.
I don't know
That's
why anyone does shared ownership. It's the worst thing
it
ever.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Is stupid. It doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
definitely not.
Yet to be convinced.
Yeah, definitely not. No, it's not cool.
Okay, Jael, I want you to rank these 5 characteristics of what makes a successful property entrepreneur. So we have knowledge, dedication, mindset, sales/negotiation skills, and energy/charisma. If you could please start from the least important and work your way up to the most important. So we have knowledge, dedication, mindset, sales/negotiation, and energy/charisma.
Oh, that's difficult because they're all so important. That's like it's like knowledge is so important, but my God, your saleability and
Mhm.
your charisma and your character, like that's how you
Well,
sell. That's
well,
that's
if we were to rank
impossible.
it,
That's not possible. I cannot list that out in what's not because if I list it out on what's not important, someone's going to think it's not important, but they are all important. You need the mindset.
Mhm.
You need to have the charisma, which comes from confidence, which comes from action. You need to be able to sell.
So there is
And
not even one which is at least the one which is the most important out of all these.
the most important, it's difficult because the knowledge is obviously the most important because you won't know if you don't know. But then can you accidentally get there without the knowledge? I mean, I guess the most important thing will be like confidence slash by saleability. I feel like
Hmm.
if you're bold and you're salesy, you've got personality, you like to speak to people, you can get there by accident. I mean, I don't know how far you can get, but you can get
Sure.
somewhere. You
Sure.
can get somewhere with that. If you have knowledge, but you don't have charisma, personality, character, sellability, you ain't getting shit.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
You ain't getting nothing because you need to be able to. And don't get me twisted, I've dealt with people that are shy, that are introverts, and they've got it in the bag. So it's teachable,
Hmm.
all teachable. You know what I mean? So don't feel like, oh, I'm not somebody that puts myself out there. I'm not going to be able to do it. No, trust me, I've got enough people that are shy that I've made raise 75 grand and they did it.
That's good news. Gives me hope.
Yeah. Yes.
One of the main reasons people don't close deals is that they enter the conversation with what they want to get out of the deal and how they can make the most value for their money, failing to realize that the agent or the landlord cares about their problem. So you need to think, how can I solve the landlord's problem? If he doesn't have the time, I can offer him rent to rent, and if he to manage the property. And if he has debt, maybe he can't pay, I can offer a lease option agreement. I'm curious, as a property millionaire and as a good problem solver, how do you approach this? How do you approach the negotiation aspect and the problem solving when you go into having these deals?
I think that one thing that you want to do is make sure that you know that you're of service to somebody else. So, a thing that I often say to, landlords, agents, investors, whomever, is, how can I help you? Like, how can I be of service to you? How can I add to you today? I want to make sure that I leave this conversation better than when we've started. And then listening is really important, listening to what they've got to say. It's really about them. Like, even if you're networking and you're meeting people, don't stand there
Hmm.
talking about yourself and the products and services that you supply. No one cares.
No
Everybody's
one
got
cares.
problems. No one cares. No one wants to hear you. Everyone wants to talk about themselves. Everyone wants to talk about themselves, and they want to feel empowered and they want to feel like they're making the right decision. So empower them. Say to them, when they're like, oh my God, yes, so I am an architect, and I'm really, looking to take on more people to be an architect. Now you're probably thinking, he's an architect. How am I going to make money from him? I'm not going to
Right.
give him business. Instead of thinking like that, just say, that's amazing that you're an architect. Like, that's such an amazing industry. I definitely have a lot of people that are into, that want planning and that need drawings and that done. I'd love to take your contact
Nice.
details, and see if I can add value in that way. And then just take their details. Or if you want to have a bit more of a conversation than that, I think you shouldn't last more than 4 or 5 minutes with somebody when you're networking. Just move on to the next person, and get their number. Don't give out your number. Forget you. It's not about you, it's about them. Get their number. And I would probably wrap up saying, well, listen, if
Yeah.
I'm going to follow, what I'll do is I'll send you a message like probably tomorrow and see if you're available
Hmm.
for a Zoom meeting on Monday. And maybe we could discuss, potential clients that might be interested. I can refer you to. And also, are you probably maybe looking into like making passive income, growing your wealth? Are those the type of things that you're interested in as well? Yeah, I do actually. I am actually interested in growing an extra passive income of like maybe £1,000 a month. Amazing. Well, do you know what? I've got a couple of deals. They're more of a rent to rent, though. They're quite low barrier of entry. I'm not sure if you're
Yeah.
looking to like buy a house or you just want passive income. So you can see how I'm saying it. I'm not sure if I want to get the answer out of them. Well, actually, I am in a position to
Hmm.
buy, but I probably would like to get my toes in the water. I don't want to do too much. That's amazing. Well, listen, what I'll do is I'll refer a couple of people to you. And then maybe if I find something that you're looking for, maybe a really good rent to HMO, get your toes sort of in the water, understand what the industry is a bit about. If it's something that you like, then I can, sort of chuck them your way. And then if it's something that you like, I also do know how to invest in, really good HMOs down in Middlesbrough. I've got somebody that I just sold a deal to for 54,000 pounds. That's given them a passive income of 1,700 a month for the rest of their life. Barrier of entry of that one's only about 14, 20 grand. So
Hmm.
would that kind of be the type of deals you're interested in? Yeah, definitely. That sounds brilliant. Okay, great. No worries. No, it's good. Perfect.
Nice.
Listen, it was wonderful talking to you. I can't wait to follow up with you next week. Like, too many people go up to people and are like, I'm a deal sourcer. Can I find you a deal? Like, no one wants to hear you're
No
a
one
deal
gives a fuck.
sourcer. No one cares.
No
That
one
that
cares.
ship has sailed. Deal
So
sourcers have
be
given deal sourcers a
interested
bad
and stop
name.
trying to be interesting. Yeah. Be interested
Yeah.
in them. That's it. And I
Yeah.
like how you were talking now, and it didn't sound like you were trying to sell to anyone. You were just being suggestive. Like, I didn't feel any sales pressure, and it was so smooth, so
I'm
easygoing.
going to
Yeah.
make sure, but this is where the sales comes in, because what I'm going to make sure is they're going to know that I'm going to text them the next day, which I will because I'm a person of integrity, and they're going to
Hmm.
know that I'm going to call them on Monday and I'm going to have a conversation. And by Monday, I would have had 2 referrals. Here's 2 people's contacts that you can message that are looking for architectors. Also, these are the deals that I have, and I'm going to show you 3 deals. And I'm going to say, there's this one, there's that one, and there's that one. Which one do you like? You like this one? Okay, amazing. Are you
Hmm.
ready to invest in it now? Yes. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to send you an NDA agreement. I'm also going to send you terms and conditions. I'm also going to send you an invoice. What's your company details? What's this? What's that? What's that?
Nice.
Email it. Then they're going to, and now all of a sudden they're buying a deal off of me.
Smooth.
It's
Smooth.
just casual, but that comes
Yeah.
with confidence, but knowledge and
Knowledge
action
and
to
practice.
and
Yeah.
practice.
What is your least favorite part about the property industry?
The least favorite part, I think, for me in my most recent development was the project managing. I think it would be not so bad the next time, but I think I wasn't aware of like certain things, like the party wall surveyor slowing down your development process because they're not happy with what you've proposed. That
Hmm.
that was something that was a massive oversight because with the party wall surveyor, you before you purchase the property, you cannot inform them that you're going to be doing the works. You can only do it once you own the house.
Oh, I see.
Very annoying. So if you're on a bridge and a development finance, every single second counts. I just want to go in and get started straight away, but
Yeah,
you
of course.
can't because you cannot give them the letter officially until you own the house. So now what I didn't realize is it's going to take them 2 weeks to get back to your agent, to your party wall surveyor. It's going to take the neighbors 2 weeks. And then if they've got a problem, it's going to take them 2 weeks to get their surveyor to come to the property to then look over your documents. Then it's going to take him 2 weeks to email you back. And then it's going to take
Oh
2 weeks to
no.
get you. And so I lost 2 months on my build at the beginning, which is £22,000 in bridging fees
And time is money.
and time is money. So I
Time is
actually
money.
started the works, the basic works that I could do without it, without the consent from them. I was like, I can't wait any longer. I have to strip this house down. I have to get started. And then but I wasn't allowed to touch the party wall until I got that award, and I got it 6 weeks after I started the works. So, and and that loft could have been started day one. Didn't start until 3.5 months after the program. So that was something that really knocked me for six on that development, and it kind of had a spiraling effect. And it was something I didn't plan for. I did this project so flawlessly. I made sure that it was done on like a lease option. I got
Did you
planning before
manage
I
it yourself
started.
or you had someone
I
to manage
managed
it for
the
you?
whole thing
The
myself.
whole
I
thing.
died 7 times. 7 times, literally, and
Was it worth
resurrected.
it? Was it worth it?
Yes, it would. It was
Well,
absolutely. You cannot pay me to do it again, but you cannot pay me not to have done it. So I've learned
right.
1,000 lessons from that one project. I took a house from 1 million to 1.6 million in central London.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I did it all as a single mom, independently, managing every single day. So it was like, yeah, it was a loft conversion, a rear extension, full strip, full renovation, new bathrooms, new kitchens, everything, the full works. And it really, yeah, it was stress, definitely stress.
I see. Well, the thing is, you didn't start like this.
Yeah.
And often people expect results by doing the same things and by being the same old loser, not understanding that some things need to change. They need to change. Please tell me, who did you have to become? What changes did you have to make in your character, in your habits, in the way you did things in order to motivate yourself, to sustain yourself through the grind, and not to give up in the tough times when you were going from being that nobody to the person you are today?
I mean, um I will never ever be the same person again. Um the girl who I was before was so kind, so good, so sweet, so so naive, so giving. I mean, I would probably lie on the floor and say, wipe your feet on my back, type of energy. So she died. She got executed. And what was born was something beautiful and ugly at the same time. Somebody that
Hmm.
takes no nonsense, somebody that's straight, somebody that's got thick skin, somebody that will look you in the face when you're screaming and shouting and be like, have you finished? Okay, so let's move forward. So that has taken, spiritual warfare, lots of attacks, lots of criticism, lots of um, stressful moments, lots of, you know, um, lots of pain, pain the pain of the death of the ego, humility, not being right, making mistakes, and really saying that, and really learning the true meaning of faith of the mustard seed, to have your back against a wall and feel like it's impossible to move forward at times, and to say, I still believe, is a something that my relationship with God, I always say to people, if you want to know God, become an entrepreneur. My relationship with God is so solid. I do not speak nor do anything without Him every day. Every conversation I have, and I allow Him to speak through me and, I'm a complete vessel. I'm at His complete mercy. I realize that without Him, I'm absolutely nothing. That He is everything through me, and my life is purposeless without Him. So because of that, I feel like I'm so strengthened because of the strength of God, and so empowered because I know He's always got me. He's always had my back when I've failed. He's picked me up in so many different ways. There's so many amazing miracles that have taken place on this journey. I cannot take credit for it, but I will always show up. So I love the woman that I am now. I adore the woman that I am now. I feel like a
That's
woman,
beautiful.
I feel like a woman. I feel like I'm right standing. I feel like I'm just. I feel like I'm strong. I feel like I'm able, and I feel like I can count on me. And if there was anyone to add to me, it would be just an add. It wouldn't be what I need. It's just an add-on to who I am. Um, I definitely have had to say goodbye to a lot of friends along the way, not by my own decision, but because I changed, they chose to walk away. And I had to acknowledge that. But I have so many amazing friends now, and people that see me and respect me and really, really value who this version of myself. Some of my old friends were like, that's not you. And it's like, well, no, this is me. You saw the caterpillar. This is what the butterfly looks like. And she's not always pretty, but this is what life has made me. And if they don't want to be around this version of me, that's okay. I can't be anybody else but me. I don't regret anything that I've done. I really, really am respectful for the journey that I've had and everybody that's carved that.
Sounds like you had a amazing transformation.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I like so much how there is this juxtaposition, this combination actually of humility for God and for yourself, and yet at the same time with this ruthlessness to attack life and make a better future for yourself and for your kid. And having this yin and yang is just sounds very very yeah, something very beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And that's everything is about polarity and duality. And even, I am a Christian by choice. And when I read about
Mm.
Christ and I hear about him flipping tables up and, telling people stand behind me and, and telling people, you're a fool. And, he was bold, and he would tell you about yourself. He did not care. He was like, I'm gonna rip you. I'm gonna let you know, but I'm also gonna also let you know whose I am, and that I take no credit for that because it's all about my father. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not a Christian in terms of I'm not a religious person. I have a relationship with God, and I
Mhm.
welcome in the Christ consciousness, and I choose Christ simply because he is the most interpretation of the deepest extent of love. There's only one person I would die for, and that is my son. Anybody else, I'll be like, nah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. If it was me and my brothers, I'll be like, listen, whoever, yeah, whatever. If it's my mum, I'm like, mum, you lived a longer life than me. You know, I don't know, but if
You'll find an excuse.
my son, I will happily run towards a bullet for. So whether Christ, people are like, oh, but you don't know if it's real or not. I don't know. I wasn't there. But what I do know is that if anyone could take a bullet for me, then that's my guy right there. So I love to walk in the representation of that, and do my best to align my values with the Christ consciousness and spread that through my messages as well. And I accept all people. You know, my mum's Islamic. I was raised in Islam. I just recently posted about it, so I accept everyone. My auntie's Brahma Kumari, and I used to do Brahma Kumari practices and Buddhism. My grandma was an
Mhm.
atheist and didn't believe in God at all. So my dad is a Rasta, so I've got a very colourful religious past. I accept everybody. I just made my own choices, and that was Christ.
Nice. I saw when you were talking about your son that you really lit up. Is there a lesson your property journey has taught you that you want to instill in your kid from a young age?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think that for him, it will be an absolute priority as soon as he can to buy his first investment. And that comes mainly because I had to live in hostels when I was 16. I made a choice when I was 16 to move out of my mum's. I said, Mum, kick me out. And I moved into hostels and I was exposed to a lot in those hostels, children that had gone through a lot of stuff, a lot of trauma. And I got my flat when I was 18. So I had no responsible parenting. I was out there doing the most at 16. So I wouldn't want that for my son. I would want him to leave because he's bought his own apartment and, has made that decision that, I want him to, that's the main thing is for him to like own a house when he moves out, more so than renting or, living in a hostel, God forbid.
Yeah, last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for giving people hope, making people laugh, making people feel really fabulous and gorgeous. I want to be known for somebody that didn't take any nonsense, that was a fierce businesswoman, but that was like a Robin Hood almost, that would be fierce in business, but would open her hands out and be gentle with those that didn't have the ability nor the resources to make it happen, to be able to be this really strong, sharp businesswoman, but then another image with like flowers around my hair and giving out money and food and building houses for people that can never ever repay me. Um, yeah, I just want to be known for being very ethical and being a humanitarian.
That's beautiful. Jael, thank you for being on the podcast. It's been lovely to get to know you better, and it's been amazing.
So thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and you have great questions. So I've really enjoyed your podcast. So thank you for having me.